Thanks everybody for being here. It's May 30th. This is the continuation of the hearing on the applicant's application for 40B project at 728 Randolph Avenue. I believe tonight, and Mr. Freeman, correct me if I'm wrong, that we're going to go through this decision and finalize it. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. I have here up on my screen a copy of a finalized or mostly finalized draft of a decision that was, I guess, originated from Judy Barrett and has been commented upon by board members and the applicant himself. And I can't recall where we left off, but do we want to go through this step by step, or have we already done that?
I don't believe we've gone through step by step yet, so I think it's a page turner night.
Okay. All right, great. I'm open to suggestions on the best practical way of going about this. One thing we can do is to just have me share my screen, and we can do it that way and keep this a live document unless there's another preferred way of doing it.
That would be fine with me. I also have it open on my computer, but since there may be other comments I don't have, I think if you can share your screen, that would be great.
Okay. You can do that. Okay, so you should be able to see a draft decision. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So again, this has some red line changes made to it. I think my understanding is that the source of these changes are various, but we'll just go through this. The procedural history that starts this off is pretty standard, and it's based on things that we've done in the past for past decisions. Peter, I don't know if you've had a chance to review any of this or if you want to review it as we're going through it.
No, I don't see changes here. The procedural history and the governing law seems to be fine. Certain dates being added, I think, can be finalized tonight, but shouldn't hold up anything.
Okay. How about the jurisdictional findings?
They were fine. Let me just see. I don't see any changes. Yep, that's fine. I don't think I see any changes from what I have through paragraph 14, and then it's factual findings. On 31, let's just see. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my ass maximum. We had corrected 31, keeping with what we did on the waivers. I added that the building will have a maximum height of 50.75 feet above the average grade and a maximum of 4 stories above the average grade. So, okay, so it does say that. It's a little small. I might have misread it at first. Yeah, well, it says 35 feet. No, the 50.75 feet above maximum grade, above average grade rather, is changed, but not the sentence above that.
So you're talking about the first sentence of number 31.
It's
Oh,
just a
actually, wait
factual
a-
sentence about the zoning.
is the disease 30 feet? I'm sorry. Yep, I'm sorry. I misread that. I apologize. It was my eyes. It's a little bit small on my screen. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mullen. You're right. That's fine.
Mr. Freeman had struck in section paragraph 35. So my question to the board is, I believe that, I mean, that was in the original draft that we received and applicant requested that it be stricken, but I think it's true. If it's true, I'd like to keep it. If it's not true, that's okay, but.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I think maybe I did it way back and I wasn't sure when we would have had a chance to review and all of that, but I'm perfectly
Okay.
fine keeping it in.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Great. So we'll move on to the conditions. Guess we can go straight through these again.
A couple of things about the document that Mr. Freeman will appreciate, I think. There were a couple of inconsistent use of terms, so the plans of record are now the approved plans everywhere. The waivers are Exhibit A, and the approved plans are Exhibit B. We don't have either, at least not right now. At least, well, they're not attached to this, let's say. We did go through the waivers, I know, in detail. But we don't have a list of the approved plans, nor do we have in paragraph 2 those dates. At least I haven't seen them. So if somebody's keeping a list of homework, those are 2.
Yeah, I agree with you that there's nothing attached. The waivers, as you said, are a separate document, which will be Exhibit B. And I
No,
thought
no.
that I had,
Exhibit A are the waivers.
okay. Um, Yeah, again, they're not attached, but I did submit it, if it's, sorry if I'm getting confused which exhibit it is, but I did submit a plan list, separate document. But I
Okay,
think I had submitted it to Judy and
okay.
to Tim.
Mr. Chairman, if you could, in A1, it looks like we've got a double period after project there. In about 5 lines down.
Yeah.
There we go. There's my contribution for the evening.
Well done.
Paragraph should end in a period, not a colon.
Now, was it a colon? I couldn't.
A different one right here.
That's my fault.
Okay. Let me know when you're done with this page and I'll keep scrolling.
Yeah, I'm good with this. So on On A10, the last sentence is the start of what I added, which reads through, it is understood and agreed that the board, at the town is granted an easement to utilize the access road for access and to install utilities, and the applicant shall comply with the terms of this easement. That's fine. And then I had add other language, including more details without limitation of what utilities can be installed, and some of the details which through Tim, I had worked out for my client with council in terms of snow plowing and things like that. So I don't know who struck that.
I did.
We don't need it. Okay.
And I think the easement speaks for itself. The board's not gonna
Yeah.
renegotiate the easement.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I just really wanted to show you folks some detail, but if you're fine with striking that last part, I'm okay with it.
I think the point about the easement is that and I think the representation is that the easement is from the town, is that the easement is sufficient to provide access to the project,
Correct.
and to otherwise serve the project. But the details of the easement, I don't know, as other than being curious as town citizens, I don't know that is a matter for the board,
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Michael, there's some formatting here that I'll have cleaned up, okay, and send it to you.
Sure. Is that this part of A13 here?
Yeah, sometimes I just can't, not perfect on it, but yeah, there you go. You're good. Now, C1, I think the applicant struck, or at least struck a portion of it. I mean, just to the board, I don't think we've done a 40B without this. And this went to the Director of Planning and Community Development, and I think he agrees. I don't want to speak for him. He may be on the call. It's really as much of the town policy matter as anything. I won't speak to the amount. The amount was, I think, inserted by Judy.
Which section are you looking at?
I think it's C1A, Peter. I think you may have stricken that.
Huh. I do see it now.
I could
on
be
my
wrong.
version.
I could
Yeah,
be wrong.
no, I didn't strike that.
Okay,
That's
okay,
fine.
all right.
Jeff,
So
there may have been a bond provision later on.
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
that the
yeah,
applicant
that's
may have struck,
probably
but I
right.
noted.
That's probably right, Tim. Then the question
Yep.
to the board is whether 5,000 is sufficient. Just as one member, I always have trouble with that because I don't fully appreciate the extent of the work. To me, it's really an engineering and planning thing. So I'd be guided by the professionals on the recommended amount. I think it came from Judy, but it was actually, I will say this, it was in the draft I got.
While you ponder that, it's not that big a deal, but actually I just caught the fact that it says to retain outside experts for technical reviews and inspections. That's fine, but it also says for legal reviews, which is not supposed to be what the applicant pays for. The amount, it's fairly typical for the post-permit review. But if the board has experience that you feel you need to change it, it's in escrow, a 53G account. So whatever you think is right. But I would suggest, if it's okay, that we strike and legal reviews.
I don't have, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I think it'd be helpful to hear from the Director of Planning and Community Development on that point.
So the only thing I would say, and we haven't reached this point with any of the previous 40Bs, we've gotten furthest along with Ice House, which has been going through plan review, I think is kind of at the tail end of plan review. We haven't really availed ourselves of those funds yet. We haven't needed to, nor have we used any funds for any sort of legal review. But the only thing that I would say is I think that this language, to the extent that it's been typical and consistent throughout the other approvals, I would lean towards keeping it. I do understand and appreciate Peter's point. I don't think it's a deal breaker. But I think, we've used similar, if not precisely the same language in the previous approvals. So, I think this one,
I recommend we
and
keep it. I recommend we keep it.
I agree. Tim, do you have any insight on the amount? I mean, I don't have any experience with this town and the cost of our peer reviewers, but I know for other towns I've run into $5,000 seems like not a lot. But I don't know the answer to that.
Again, it's a little bit tough to say. This one has been relatively straightforward, in terms of what we can anticipate. I mean, this isn't 648 Canton Ave, for instance. So again, to the extent that this figure is consistent with previous approvals, I think $5,000 is going to be okay. I think, if the rubber hits the road and we bump up against that figure, I'm sure everyone will be, interested in, continuing to advance this project in the best way possible. So I would hesitate to suggest a different number just because it wouldn't really be based in anything really firm. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a guess and an estimation. We may wind up spending none of it. We may spend all of it. So I think $5,000 is kind of, it may be on the low end, but also, again, given there are other kind of security bonding, procedures and figures later on, I think we want to be, reasonable in that way.
Gotcha.
And it
Okay.
also does say, and also it does say if it turns out that they're insufficient, then, you can ask for more later.
Okay. All right. So unless anyone objects, I'll leave this 5,000.
I agree.
Yeah, that's okay.
This one on dust, which number is that?
It's number C1D.
See. Yeah, that was fine.
Here we go. So these are, I think a lot of these changes, these edits were suggested by the applicant as things that had already happened. And I guess that's my question. Have they already happened? And does the board want to keep them in, even if they already happened, just for the record?
Mr. Chairman, it's a question to all of us, but Mr. Chairman, may I go before you folks?
Yes, please do. Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen is right. The reason I struck them is that they have been done, but also we can't get into post-permit conditions where, the point is to have a permit that's comprehensive and that, grants approval for the project to go forward based on the approved plans. So, just one, it had been either F or G, obtain confirmation from the Department of Public Works that the necessary public water and sewer capacity is available. Well, we're beyond that point. It is available. There's been no objection from DPW, and
Well,
I can't.
there's been no objection, but have we seen that? I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I think there's something after all this time, that they know that it's being connected to sewer and water. And again, it's separate, as we discussed earlier, on the access easement, but it's acknowledged by the town, by the select board, that the utilities are going in along the access road. So, and same thing with the other ones, although it's potentially just inconsistent with where we've been and how comprehensive permits are generally written. That we'd have to have a post-permit confirmation. And again, to me, that's really not controversial.
Well, I know, but are you actually objecting to getting all necessary electrical, plumbing, and other permits required to begin construction before you pull your building permit? Is that the objection? Or are you objecting because it's not appropriate for a 40B application? In H.
Well, what this one, about the electrical, plumbing, et cetera, may be easier for me to be flexible on, but the intent, the way I usually do it, is, it's acknowledged that upon confirmation from the building inspector that the plans submitted comply with the comprehensive permit, that these permits, are deemed approved by the decision, subject to complying with the technical requirements.
Right.
If it says here, under the state building code, that would probably satisfy me.
Well, there's only one code. I think we are talking about the state building code, so to me, Tim should speak to this, but I thought these are used as a bit of a checklist too, so I thought H was helpful. I know I skipped over F, but if it needs to say under the state building code, I don't object to that.
Yeah, that would be fine.
So it'd say other permits required under the state building code?
Sure. Are you still on I, where it says obtain all
No,
necessary electric?
H.
Yeah.
H, right?
Yeah, on mine, the numbers or the letters have changed. So is that the one that says obtain and file with the building inspector a copy of all required?
Yeah, yes.
Because I didn't object to that. That's fine as it's written.
No, the next one.
Right, that's what I thought we were talking about. Yeah, if we say building code, state building code,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, okay. And then what about I and J? I and J are the ones that Tim had referred to that I was confused about.
Yeah, I did strike them here, but Tim, you can correct me, or we can just wait until we get further down. But I just thought it was cleaner to address them later consistently where they are addressed. And I think I tweaked them, but I'm not objecting to posting, a bond in the appropriate circumstances or some security.
Can
But
we
the
shoot?
reason they're here is they're preconditions to the building permit.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
They're
can we shoot down to where they're covered? If the 6 of one, half dozen of the other in some way. Again, this is just consistent with the previous permits that we've done. But if people feel strongly about it and everything is covered the way it's supposed to be, Peter, what section addresses this later on?
I'll have to do a word search. I'm not sure. Let's see. It would be. It would be H after on page 19.
I thought that was different.
It is different, but it's not saying we don't necessarily have to provide security. Typically, the security is if for seasonal reasons or something like that, you can't complete the entire landscaping or perhaps final pavement or things like that, and then you provide a security.
Yeah, I think there are three different concepts here, really, just due respect. The first concept is security for emergency sediment control. The second concept is security for landscaping, restorative landscaping. And the third is security for the public infrastructure. I think they're different.
I agree that they're different. The one on soil and sedimentation, I guess I'd have to look at where that is again. Candidly, I don't recall that, and I did review it for tonight, even though it's been a long time. The one about for the whatever it is, the first year or two of landscaping, I don't generally like those, but if the board insists and we have an amount that seems reasonable, I'm not going to say it's a deal breaker. The third category is what I think I'm trying to address in H.
Yeah. The other two are what we were talking about before we jump to H. I just think these aren't the same. And at least my experience is that we've consistently required the other two security. So one of my goals is to make it easy for the town, or easier for the town, to administer so many projects and to try to make them as consistent as possible. And I had thought that the board and the town's policy was that we have security for emergency sediment control and security for restorative landscaping. So I would,
Yeah, I do.
I think we should keep those in.
I understand your thinking better. Again, I'm not going to say those are deal breakers. By the way, Julia, my client, has been trying to get in. Apparently, he texted me. I don't know if you're seeing him at all. He might be just be on an iPhone, not video.
Okay, there's somebody on a Samsung. I wasn't sure who that was, so I'll let them in.
On the one about restorative landscaping, again, I'm not going to make it a deal breaker, but there may need to be slightly additional language, in case the project is abandoned. But I mean, this needs to be some temporal time frame. The money can't just be held forever.
We could go to the language. I mean, we're going to get to this H,
It's
but
a-
I just think
yeah.
because we've jumped ahead, we should go back to page 13.
Yeah, and I apologize. I had, again, it's hard to piece it all together. But yes, these are very discrete, focused, and I didn't need to jump ahead. Although actually, Tim thought we should jump ahead too. But this actually does say for a year at the end of K. So that answers my question about time frame. So I'm okay with not deleting.
All right, then can we talk about F? And maybe the Director of Planning and Community Development knows whether this confirmation has already been received from DPW. To me, that's not a permit. That's a practical reality.
Well, Tim, you certainly, I'd like to hear your answer too, but you know, we haven't come all this way so that we can get a permit that seems to be pretty good, but to still not know that there's water and sewer for the project. I mean, we've been told that there is. They've reviewed the plans. They haven't commented and said, "Well, time out. There's not water and sewer." And as I say, in this case, there's also approval by the select board that the utility easements come through the access road.
Hey, Peter, can I speak on this or not? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Rob's in. Mr. Chairman, if you recognize Rob,
Mr. Ciliberti, yes, how are you?
thank you.
Hi, how you doing? I'm just on my smartphone. So in regards to utilities, we did a flow test where the town was present, the water department, that was distributed to the peer reviewer. He reviewed that. We did a sewer flow test at the sewer manhole, and we distributed that information with the peer reviewer. And what else? Obviously, we, you know, the water tap, and the water flow is sufficient. So yes, the town is aware of it, and the peer reviewer is well aware of it as well.
Yeah, oops, sorry, Jeff.
I'm just wondering if you're comfortable with that. I mean, that seems
Yeah.
reasonable from my perspective. I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the extent, and you know, I don't know if they've submitted a formal comment letter, kind of just signing off on everything. I can get that for the record if the board is interested. But DBW and the engineering department have been, you know, a lot of this kind of flows through the peer review, you know, especially on some of the civil engineering work and the utility work. And so to the extent that they have not ever raised any issue with Tetra Tech's findings and recommendations, I think this is all kind of safe and reasonable. But you know, if for the sake of completeness, if the board is interested in just getting confirmation, you know, we can do that. But again, you know, DBW has been involved from the start, not only on this, but also on the conversations around the easement, you know, that Peter alluded to. So I think, you know, I think I feel all right.
Mr. Chair,
is what I'll
that's
say.
acceptable to me. A pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I think it's acceptable to me too, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm holding my tongue.
All right, so we'll,
Accept that deletion and then just keep paragraphs H, I, and J. H is being edited to be under the state building code.
Correct.
Excuse me. Can you just talk about H a little bit?
We just talked about it for 15
I'm-
minutes.
I'm uncomfortable with this is the board's decision, and the amount of input. Is it really a negotiation at this point? It's up to the board members to come up with the language. That's where I'm getting a little frustrated.
Okay, so H doesn't say for what sedimentation, for the site, for the road, for what peer, you know, I just want to know what that is about. What,
Well, we talked about H before you got on the call. I'm sorry.
No. okay.
No. Well, I mean, you know, I would just say that it's the normal protocol. Naturally, the applicant isn't dictating, nor is Tim, what you're going to approve, but it is certainly totally customary protocol to have the exchange. That's why they were drafts that we all waited to review. And, you know, it's a lot of tweaking. It's not, you know, humongous changes, but sure, I would just say that ultimately it's the board's decision. But the reason it's done in, you know, keeping the hearing open and in this form so that, you know, everybody can participate.
Okay, so are we good with F and G?
I
And
am.
H?
Yep. And I and J.
Good. We'll have to fix the formatting here later, but. Okay.
On C, in the middle of where you're scrolling to now, I had added the word before compliance, that the as-built plans has been constructed in substantial compliance.
Yeah, I deleted that. I think it needs to be in compliance.
Okay, I mean, on this one, I can concede that, it's talking about as-built plans, but
Peter, did our note regarding the ability to change interior
yep,
layouts,
that's there, Rob.
that could, you know,
That's there, Rob.
this is the first time seeing this here, so, and
No, it's not. You and I have gone over it a lot, Rob.
so. Oh, so Peter,
Rob,
the
Rob, it's
changes
fine.
are only blue? The changes are only in blue again?
I have it on my screen and I'm catching anything that was changed from what I had suggested.
So D6, I edited this. This is more of a, well, this is a question for the board and I just want to understand it. I wanted to understand if well, just read it. I'm thinking that this is a correct sentence. The objection to that? It's not a trick.
No, this is the way I had changed it.
There's only one thing I would add to that. I mean, Peter, the utility company will ultimately dictate to what pole it's going to be. So, like Eversource will dictate that. That's the only issue. So, might not be the nearest. It might be second to nearest. I don't know.
We could change it to a telephone pole and we could say as required by the utility company.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a planning issue, you know, I thought the issue here was the extent of utilities to be located underground versus aerial. And that
Yes,
matters,
yeah.
I think, to the town, maybe it doesn't. You know,
So on the entire project site, all utilities will be located underground. But on the access road and on any, Randolph Ave, whatever, the utility company will dictate that, whether it's underground or above. So we're talking specifically electric.
how about the nearest possible telephone pole? Something like that.
That's
Sure.
okay.
So that's 6, and then I had a question on 7. Peter, I think you may have struck in this and I didn't know why.
Rob, I think your technical knowledge is probably called upon.
Sure.
There,
Can I just
at
do-
some point, yeah, absolutely.
Can I just see this? Hold on a second. Yeah, so the piping material, the material used backfill. The piping material, et cetera, used for backfilling pipes is specified on the project's plans. And engineers don't certify backfill material. It gets certified and you call it out as, for example, an M103 spec or whatever. That's all on the plans, and that's what we comply with on what
All right.
material.
All right, how about if it says, for the board, how about if it says soil material used as backfill for pipes, access drive, or structures shall be as per the approved plans? How about that?
That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. For me.
The board okay with that? I mean, I think it gets to the same point, right? It's gonna be adequate. We've signed off on the plans. We'll get the soil we need.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I think this is a change that I highlighted just so that the board was aware of it. It seemed reasonable to me, and I think we should just read it because it may come up later in this decision. You imagine that the access road's gonna be busy at certain points. Peter, I think those are your edits,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
through me for Rob, and it's just intended to be practical and also for everybody's edification.
Appreciate
Certainly
that.
doesn't affect the project, after it's constructed.
I think the same with D14. I think those are your edits. And the question in the town is whether this was adequate. Just in general, Peter, I struck any references to sheet numbers on the approved plans, letting the plans speak for themselves.
That's okay. I think you said D14. Are you still at D11 in terms of silt rock as shown on plans of record?
D11. You got different numbers, but
Yeah, yeah, let's see.
it could be that yeah, this is not a true red line, obviously, so w-
Parking, parking lot. Well, it was no disturbance left. Yeah, the way you have it now is as it, is fine with us. It's my change, except you eliminated, as you just said, the specific sheet number, which is fine.
right. That's gonna be consistent.
Yeah.
I just thought it got too deep. I mean, we don't have that kind of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about D14, correct?
Well, just in general, I took out all the sheet numbers, but D14, the question is to the town if the changes that the applicant has requested are adequate. It's really got to do with the construction sequence as per the approved plans, which made sense to me, and the way that the lockbox was gonna work for the file.
So who do we need to sign off on this, Tim?
I mean, I lean on the past 6 decisions that we've done, the extent that this is consistent or similar.
I don't know,
see any.
because these are new, this is new language. That's the point, this isn't, I don't think it was in the previous ones, because this came from the applicant.
Okay, give me half a second to reread this. Yeah, I don't think that there's anything here that seems unreasonable, is the endorsement that I'll give.
Maybe we could
I
do
think-
this. The only caveat I'd have on 14 is just to make sure that the fire department is expecting that the lockbox or the code will work that way. That's all. And I think that's a minor detail, but it ought to be right, We're not issuing this tonight, so maybe that can just be confirmed.
Yeah,
Also
I can-
on,
No, go for it, Peter. I was just gonna say, I can run that at the flagpole with the fire department. Like I said, it doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
if they have a specific procedure, I mean, what I'll say is, especially on the access road, they're accustomed to having to unlock a gate. So this is even in this particular location, kind of is consistent with how they've operated. But I'll run that by Chief Madden and get a confirmation.
and I was just going to say on the condition above that, which on mine, it still says 14. All construction vehicles shall be parked on the property, and we added or on the access road owned by the town.
Yeah, well, so there's two paragraphs here that look at D9.
D, the same section, D, as in David.
Yeah,
Current D9, which I think used to be D10 or a different number. It's this language here.
I just preferred the D9 language. I think if you want to take the last sentence to D13 and move it to D9, that's okay.
That would be fine.
you know?
Yep.
So then do we take out D13?
I think so, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's inconsistent, you know? Now, these paragraphs um, in D, I think were removed or requested to remove, I'm sorry, in F. I think were requested to be removed because they've already happened. I could be wrong. I just don't know that that's happened.
Yes, that would be correct. But we also had section E, which I can't see what you folks did to that. Plans of record, approved plans, yeah. And then. Right. Okay, yeah, that's now F.
But I hadn't seen this. Is there an apparatus plan that's he's approved?
Yes, I recall, I can't tell you which hearing, but I recall that that was addressed because the question had come up in the course of reviewing with Sean Reardon.
Okay.
And yes, so that's satisfied.
Yeah, maybe that's right. Yeah. They were turning movements on that, weren't there?
Yep.
I think that's right, board members.
I think it is too. That's my recollection.
It is.
And then I think on F3, I think that would be on the plans. You know?
Yeah, I would think it would
Yeah, I
be.
mean, yeah, I mean, they're shown on the plans, which is why I struck it. If you, again, want to add language that these things, you know, can be confirmed by Milton Fire Department for consistency with the approved plans.
What
I
if
don't
we
have a
said,
problem
what
with
if
that.
we, I'm sorry, what if we said the final layout and location of all fire safety equipment, hydrants, post indicator valves, panels shall be as approved, as the approved plans?
That's fine. That was the gist of what I was trying to say. Thank you.
Can you repeat that, Jeff?
It would be say, the final layout and location of all fire safety equipment, paren hydrants, post indicator valves, panels, et cetera, close paren, shall be as the approved plans. Period.
Yeah.
Great. These also are the applicant's edits, most of which I had some edits about I edited this to remove the plan sheets and to reference the fact that they've been, I'm talking about G2,
Mhm.
that they've been approved by the fire department and the board's peer review. I don't think we need that. So G2 would read the water utilities and hydrant will be installed in accordance with the approved plans.
That's fine.
And I actually think the two previous sentences are a bit redundant with that third sentence, you know?
All right, so I was still working on the previous one while you guys discussed G2. Can you repeat that?
It
for me?
would, this should just accept the edits here and I think it would be fine. No, you gotta strike that. I'm sorry. This sentence, G2 would simply read, the water utilities and hydrant will be installed in accordance with the approved plans, period.
Got it.
And the same for the next one. So the water utilities and hydrant will be installed in accordance with the, oh, that's the same paragraph.
That's redundant, yeah.
I think we should strike that.
Yeah, it's redundant.
G3. And the next one too.
Yeah.
Now, I think on G4, I think that final should be approved plans. And the difference is that the approved plans are the ones we've seen. The final plans are the ones that they're going to do that are consistent with the approved plans, you know? And then we get
Yep.
back to the security. And I think the spirit of what the applicant had agreed to is okay. I did some editing there.
That's easy to read now, thank you.
Now, at the end of H2, there were two paragraphs that were stricken, and I didn't understand why they were stricken. Mike, you might have just removed them. Yeah. I think that's pretty standard language that we've had in other documents. Maybe that's not going to happen on this project. It's a little bit different, right? Because of the access road.
Mm-hmm.
I think the town has a lot of protection here. I think this should just be correct. I don't know what's gonna happen and how the building commissioner wants this to work.
In addition, I think the reason that I struck it is it's inconsistent with what we just had above on the incompleteness of certain parts of the infrastructure, because it doesn't refer back to the
Yeah, so
opportunity.
they'll take security and issue the CO. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah. I suppose that's the building inspector's, building commissioner's pleasure, right? His prerogative. But I say if the town is, my view is one member is, the town is okay with striking those. I don't find it objectionable, but I do think we've done that before. Maybe this project's a little bit different, given the way the access works. You know?
That's more for a subdivision. This is not, we're not doing a subdivision here.
Yeah, yeah. I was-
What
I
other
was also-
project we've done is direct access off a public way, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And this isn't phased, it's one building, so it's either gonna be complete or not in terms of how you get there.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's unreasonable. I just wanted to call it to people's attention.
Oh, no, I appreciate that, sure.
So this,
It feels inappropriate. No, that one, no, that one's okay. It's the
This one's
next
good, right?
two. Yeah, A and B in the blue, they don't feel like they fit this project, one big condominium building that's being accessed off of an access road, for which the applicant has the benefit of an easement. I mean, we really don't know when the access road's gonna be finished, and I know that there's been a lot of conversation between the applicant and the town. I mean, I think and I also think there are other provisions in the plans that give the town adequate security, in addition to the fact that they've got the option to get the letter of credit. So feels to me like it's just adding confusion.
yeah, I mean, the building inspector is going to do what he's going to do
Exactly.
regardless, right? I'm okay with taking it out.
I agree.
That's fine.
Okay, so let me so this is good. Okay,
I don't think there are any other changes.
Yep, just those few general things, and I don't see any redlining on mine, and if you don't have any, then we're good.
We're gonna need, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Freeman, if you could send to us that list of plans again.
Sure.
And then we should confirm the dates of the date we closed the hearing and the date that we deliberated on page 1. And with those changes, I mean, I'm prepared to support the decision. I don't know if you want to vote that, Michael, or,
yeah, why don't we do that? So so we'll put it out to the members of the board for a vote on this decision as drafted and as reviewed tonight during this meeting. I guess I will put it out to my fellow board members whether or not to approve this application.
yeah, I approve it. I'm prepared to support it, subject to the proviso that minor typographical errors and issues of clarification that get caught in a final editing process, as well as it can be corrected, as well as confirmation from the Director of Planning and Community Development that the fire department is satisfied with how it is going to access the project site as per paragraph D14.
With those two provisos, I'm prepared to support the decision as they're out there.
Great, as am I. So the application is approved, subject to the provisos as so stated. I have the working document that we've reviewed tonight And I believe that the only thing still on it is that reference to the fire commissioner. And so
The dates of the hearings, Mike.
and the dates of the hearings, correct. And we're waiting for the two items from Mr. Freeman, the waivers and the final plans.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
final plans, yes, I can send those. The waivers you all have, we actually had gone over them 100% at the last hearing. I do think you need to vote, as you just did, to approve the waivers in that form, but you have them. They're dated April, March 30th is what the date is. I think we had talked about them in April.
okay, so I'm not prepared with that document here tonight. But I do believe that I do recall discussing those.
I'd be prepared to approve the waivers as discussed and edited by the board in the meeting at which we did that, Michael, if that's your pleasure.
That sounds good to me. I would approve them as well.
I agree as well.
And then I would just make a motion that who's ever assembling the final document is authorized to attach the waivers in that form to this document as Exhibit A, and the approved plans, which are the plans that have accompanied this hearing, as Exhibit B, and that will be the conformed document.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Judy?
Been a little bit sick, but I'm fine. Good to see everybody again.
You too. I don't know at what point you jumped on, but we've approved this decision. We have approved waivers. We're waiting for final plans, but otherwise are good to go. So procedurally, or not procedurally, but just practically, how does this typically get finalized? Do we forward these to you, or?
Why
We've
don't
done
you
it in-house.
forward it to me, Mike, if you want, and I can check in with Julia and just make sure I'm up to speed on what you did before I joined, because I've been on another meeting for about the past hour.
Okay.
So I'll check in and make sure I've got accurate record. Should I go through you, Mike? Who's actually on the board kind of handling the decision? Is it you?
Yeah, it's me, so we can talk.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just circle back with you offline.
Sure, sounds good. Okay, what else? Anything else we need to do tonight?
Mr. Chairman, the only other thing consistent with your having voted, as you just did, would be to close the hearing.
I think we should wish the applicant luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good
Mr.
luck.
Celebrity, good luck. It looks like a good project. It was nice getting to know you over these past few months. Peter,
you.
always good to work with you, and I will make a motion to close the hearing.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
If that's it,
Appreciate it.
we'll see you all
Good night.
soon.
Thank you.
all. Take care.
Bye.
good night.